Thank you all for inviting us to come down and present to you again. I think it's been, 5 or 6 years since we've done this, Trish? Before we get started, let me introduce a couple of my staff members. These are key people that I get to work with every day and have the privilege of calling them colleagues. Tom Tyree. Tom, stand up. Tom's our Director of Air Service Marketing and Development with the Airport Authority. If you don't like the air service, go see Tom, okay? He's the guy. And then Trish Burke is our Director of Public Relations. Trish has been with us for about 12 years. I had the privilege of hiring Trish and Tom both. Trish is leaving us. She's going to be retiring, if you can imagine that, at the end of next month. So congratulations on retirement. Thanks for coming down. Let's give her a hand. And then Claire Nichols is Trish's sidekick. Claire's with Guthrie Mays and gets to work with Dan Hartledge. And thank you for all the good work you do for us as well, Claire. Well, before we get started, let's give away some prizes. We've got 3 things to give away, and we're going to play a little Trivia Pursuit. How many of you have been to a meeting that I've done Trivia Pursuit on? Any show of hands? All right, Greg's back here. Greg's been everywhere. He's everywhere. So first one is the #1 final destination from Louisville. And let me tell you what this is for, okay? This is for 6 seats, box seats at Churchill Downs, the first Saturday of June. Okay. So the #1 destination from Louisville, and this is a city that people fly from Louisville to go to that city, not to transfer, but actually to go there because they want to be there. Any idea what that #1 city would be? Chicago, right back there. He raised his hand. He's the gentleman in the red tie and in the gray suit. Congratulations. Good job. All right. And we want to know what the largest revenue-producing food and beverage concession is at the terminal building. Does anybody know what the largest food and beverage concession is at the terminal? Right here, the lady right here. Starbucks, that's right. Tom, why don't you give that lady 4 seats to a Louisville Bats game on Saturday, June 18th. So congratulations. And then finally, we have 4 seats at the Louisville FC Soccer Club's game on Saturday, August 27th. How many have been to one of the soccer games? Pretty exciting stuff, and they get good-sized crowds. So this is 4 seats for that day, August 27th. It's a Saturday as well. If you can get this right, true or false? So you can be 50% correct right out of the gate. True or false? The first recorded flight in Kentucky was actually from the infield at Churchill Downs. True. Yeah, who said that? True. Right there. There you go. There you go. Congratulations. Man knows his history trivia in Louisville. Great job. All right, well, let's talk about the airports. I have the privilege to operate on behalf of you and everyone here in the community. And we want to talk about distilling great airports. And distilling great airports and setting a higher standard were 2 of the themes that we really developed working with members of the community here in terms of what we want the airport to be. And as soon as Trish figures the clicker out here, we'll talk about that. Is it working? Okay. We had a committee of about 20 folks that helped us determine what this remodeling, and it's about a $9.5 million remodeling effort, should look like, and the message that we want to communicate about our community through that remodeling effort in the terminal building. It's important. And we believe it's important because in many, many cases, as you all know, we're the front door of the community for people coming in, and we're the last experience they have in leaving the community. John Walczak from the zoo, he worked on the committee. We had a number of people like John that has public facilities that have customers every day, that come in thousands of customers, and we wanted to know what their customer experience and expectations would be for the airport. So thank you, John, and all of your folks that helped us out. We really appreciate that. And of course, we've been distilling great airports in Louisville, Kentucky since 1919. The Airport Authority Board is actually the oldest airport authority board. It was founded in 1928, but the airport was actually operated by the Louisville Parks Department as early as 1919, where the Bowman Field, picture at the top, is the oldest continuously operated publicly owned airport in the United States. And only Trish can tell you how much training it took for me to get that right, to be able to say it all at one time. Well, let's look at the industry. I like to take a look at the industry, and primarily the passenger industry that we deal with every day, because we get For every one call we get about cargo or other operations at the airport, we get 100 about air service and what's going on at the airport. So let me give a little industry update in terms of how this industry operates and what it looks like today. This is a list of 30 airlines. Many of you that are my age or older will recognize all of these names, if not almost. Of those airlines that were in business in 1978, which is year deregulation occurred for the passenger business in the airline industry, only 4 of those carriers are left today. And if you look at those 4 names, you'll see Southwest Airlines is not even on that list. And today, they're one of the 4 largest airlines in the nation. What does it mean? Change occurs all the time in our industry. And we went through a significant change in 1978. We've gone through many changes. I tell people about every 5 years we reinvent the business. And this is what's happened as a result of some of that reinvention. Some very old storied names have disappeared over the years, either through merger and acquisition and consolidation, bankruptcy, all in an effort to try to find profitability, because profitability has always been a very difficult pursuit for the airlines in the commercial airline industry. But they've gotten much better at it here recently. And one of the reasons they've gotten much better, this pie chart really sums it up here. In the last 2 or 3 years, this pie chart began to look a lot like it did prior to 2007, where labor and operations and maintenance costs as a percentage of expenses in the balance sheet tied for first place, 31%. Fuel was at 23% of the total cost of doing business in the commercial airline industry. That's a huge difference in the last several years. Going back to 2008, when we had a huge fuel price run-up, that number was more like 34%, and in fact was predicted to grow to 37%, which means that the airlines, which don't control fuel pricing any more than you and I, were really going to be struggling to make money because of fuel being such a huge commodity as a part of their business. So that has come down. That has helped profitability tremendously. Consolidation, bankruptcy, and merger has been another big benefit. And coming out of that consolidation in our business, we've seen since 2009, 6 regional hubs, significant airport hubs close in the United States, all in the eastern third of the United States. All of them had service. We had service too from Louisville International, and in most cases, multiple flights a day. We lost 2 of those hubs in 1 year. In 2014, we lost both Memphis and Cleveland as hubs for United and Delta Airlines. So you can see that the consolidation has been real, and it has produced an airline industry that is dominated by 4 carriers. And I mentioned Southwest Airlines being one of the 4 largest carriers in the country. Delta, American, and United would fill out and round out the top 4. They own 85% of the business in this country when it comes to passenger service. That's a huge chunk of dominance. Some of the other things the airlines have done is learn to debundle services. How many have rented cars before? You go in and rent a car, and they want to rent a car, and oh, by the way, we'll sell you some insurance, and we'll give you a breakdown. And now you go in, and they'll offer to rent you a GPS for $30 a day. It costs more than the car does. And so they were experts at debundling until the airlines picked up on it, and they have become even bigger experts. In fact, today, Delta Airlines announced that they were ending one of those debundled services because it was the most hated of all of them by consumers, and that was $25 for the privilege of talking to somebody, a live human being on the end of the telephone, or going to the airport to buy a ticket, which was $35 added on to the cost of the ticket. So the debundling has netted the airlines nearly $24 billion in 2015, and that is significant because that's about the profit number that the airlines had in 2015. They made about $24.5 billion. So you can see where the profit's coming from, even with fuel price reduction. The airlines, their view of the world has changed radically as well because of consolidation, because of merger. That has caused a change in their business plan and how they view the world. Used to be the airlines, it was all about market share. It was all about me having more seats and more markets, getting more passengers and flying them everywhere across the country, whether we made money or not. My mantra is their slogan, we'll lose money on every seat but make it up in volume. It just doesn't work. And so The airlines, because of consolidation, market share isn't quite as important as it used to be. Now they worry about growing revenue, like the rest of us. How to improve that bottom line, how to make black ink even blacker and show a greater profit. They spend a lot of time on that today. They explore new lucrative routes for air service. Tom can tell you, there are not a lot of those left. The low-hanging fruit's been picked years ago, and so communities, airports like us, and airlines are all looking for those other opportunities that have been missed, but it's like looking for a needle in the haystack because the business is fairly mature. Growing seat capacity by reducing airframe count. That's a trick, how to fly more people on fewer planes and fewer flights. And I'll show you how they do that in just a second. And then finally, reducing debt and returning cash to the shareholders. I'm not going to ask if anybody owns airline stock because I don't want anybody to laugh. But here's the deal. They're now paying dividends to the shareholders of airlines. And that's a very unusual situation, particularly over the last 15 years or so. So there is now a return to those investors, which is very unique. Growing capacity. This is capacity and how it's grown in the country and by airport classification size. In the U.S., seats have grown in 2015 and 16 at the rate of about 4.1% for those 2 years. Large hubs, the Chicagos, the Miamis, the JFKs, they mirror that growth. Medium hubs have made up for some really significant seat reductions that occurred right after the oil run-up and the recession. They've grown the last 2 years at about 5.5%. Small hubs, of which we are one, a very large one, but nonetheless a small hub, we've grown at about 2%. So growth, and more importantly, seat preservation has become a real watchword of the day for this size category of airport and smaller, and we pay a lot of attention to that to make sure that we have enough seat count and flight availability to accommodate the community's needs, and that's where we spend a lot of time. This is how you turn water into wine in the airline industry. Provide more seats with fewer flights, and this is what's happened. The 50-seat regional jet is going away. We've lost probably a third of them in the last 3 years. We're going to lose the next two-thirds probably over the next 5 or 6 years, which means that those 50-seat aircraft are being replaced by larger machines. 70, 90, 100 and larger aircraft are coming in to replace those seats. So in 2010, the average airline departure was about 95 seats. Today, it's about 106 and a half seats. You don't want to be in a half seat, by the way. You want to be in a whole seat. So 106 and a half seats per departure, that's a huge difference. That's a huge change. And that means that your community will have to support larger aircraft, which means you need to have a market that can support a larger aircraft. And you're probably going to wind up with some fewer flights as a result. But seat count will be there. Right, Tom? We'll be able to maintain seat count. And that's the good news. What does that mean closer to home? What does that mean for Louisville? How does that equate for us in terms of where we fit at in the niche of the airline, commercial airline market world? Well, we're the only airport in Kentucky with all 4 major airlines. All 4 major airlines. Southwest, Delta, American, and United all serve this community. And if I had to pick a sweet spot on how I'd like to have this market divided, if somebody asked me this test question in Airline Marketing 101 in college, this is the draft I would have drawn. I'd want to see that market evenly divided as much as possible so that you have as broad a diversity in service and service points as possible. And this is what's happened in Louisville, and we are very fortunate. It's what allows us to have lower than most of the average fares in our competing airports around the region, and it's what allows people to have choice, particularly when things don't work quite the way they should work because of weather or because of aircraft shortages or because of labor disruptions. We have choices here in Louisville. Hub-dominated airports like Chicago, which is dominated by United and American, don't have as many choices per se when it's something bad happens to an airline. We're not in that situation here. And again, we get some help on the fares side of the spectrum as well. Load factor in our community is important, and it's really important to the airlines. How do you perform in filling up those available seats that they offer to the community every day? And here in Louisville, we have seen load factor bumping around the mid-70 range for a number of years going back to 2007. That didn't work today. Today, the national average is 83%, and I think we've just hit that, didn't we, Tom, in the last month or so? We're very close to 83%. In 2015, we were just shy of 82%, and that's a good thing, because when you begin to get adequate load factor based on the airline's business model, then you can go back and begin to ask for more stuff, more service and more seats and bigger airplanes. So it helps our cause in making those asks. What do we have for service today to the community? Well, we've got 20 cities that are served nonstop, 20 different destinations nonstop every day out of Louisville, Kentucky. And this satisfies the broadest spectrum of cities where most of our people fly to. The only cities missing in this chart would be Boston, San Francisco, and LA. And so with those three exceptions, the top markets that we fly to every day are represented by the dots on that map. So we've got a pretty good service spectrum and a very high degree of reliability associated with that service spectrum. So what happens if you add a stop? None of us like to make stops. I don't like to make a stop. But if you add a stop to your flight, the possibilities go exponential, which is exactly how the airlines built their business. One stop will get you 176 destinations worldwide to 79 countries on 6 continents. And that is pretty remarkable service. And I would tell you that in 1978, before deregulation, that would not be the case at all by any stretch. So today, we enjoy a pretty high degree of connectivity with most of the business markets, not just here in the United States, not just here in North America, but around the world. And the airlines that we've got are providing some meaningful enhancements. We may not get a new city per se every day, but we've got upgrades in aircraft size on American Airlines. United has done the same thing in Denver and Houston. Delta is always tweaking their schedule, adding in larger, newer aircraft and dropping those 50-seat regional jets. And they're doing that in their primary hubs as well as in the New York LaGuardia market, where we now have all 70-seat service. Americans adding in, re-entering the LaGuardia service in June. They're bringing another flight into New York, LaGuardia. And even Southwest is adding seat capacity by bringing in larger airframes. And they provide what they call a unique vacation schedule in the summer where we have Saturday-only service. But it's good service, and it's the cities like Orlando and Tampa where we all want to go and get away and vacation. So all of those are enhancements that we see on a continuing basis. So if you ask me what's going on, what's new at the airport, and I kind of look at you with a glaze over, it's because there's a lot of stuff going on, but we may not know about it specifically, or at least I don't. I'll give you Tom's name and number. GLI, we've been working with GLI and the Regional Air Service Coalition for about a year now in looking at ways to find additional sweet spots for air service and opportunities to bring in other airlines. And there are 2 working committees with the Regional Air Service Coalition, one looking at some of those cities that I mentioned that we don't have nonstop service to today that are cities of interest, as well as some other opportunities. And we're very, very grateful to the business community to step up to the plate, hire a consultant, get a comprehensive study done, and look at opportunities that go beyond just peeking under the sheets and looking for that new opportunity for new services and new unique services to the community and the business community. So thanks to GLI for that. Enough about passenger service. Let's talk about cargo. Cargo is very, very important to this community, to the airport, and to the economy here in Louisville. We are, and continue to be, over the last several years, the 3rd largest cargo airport in North America and the 7th largest in the world. And that is significant. We run with some pretty big cities worldwide when it comes to moving boxes and goods through our facility, primarily because of UPS. They have a huge presence here, run about 120 to 130 flights a day, and really keep us on the map in terms of cargo. Why is cargo so important? Well, it's the economic impact that's driven from that presence here in this community that really gives you an idea of how important it is to the regional economy. Dan hinted towards the number of jobs. We are 1 in 10 jobs in the community are directly or indirectly attributed to the airport. 70,000 more or less here locally. $2.6 billion in payroll. $8.1 billion in economic activity. That's billion with a B. It is huge, and then out of that you get about $350 million a year in state and local taxes to help support our communities, help support the infrastructure that we all enjoy every day. So it's a significant economic occurrence, and I will tell you that about the time we finished this, which was about a year ago, Grand Rapids, Michigan, second largest city in Michigan, published their economic development and economic impact as a result of their airport. They've got a nice facility up there. $425 million as compared to $8.1 billion. So significant difference. We have a huge economic engine and catalyst here besides a great transportation facility to move people from point A to point B. And how do we do that? Well, we do that through our terminal facilities as it relates to passengers, and we're in the middle of a remodeling project right now at Louisville International. The Jerry Abramson Terminal is going through some significant facelifts. We mentioned that earlier about the community coming together and helping us figure out what the new look should be and what the message should be. And so we've got remodeling going on in both concourses. This is a good idea of what the before and after is. We've got Airside Rotunda will be going through some significant remodeling in branding and image development, some additional artwork that will be embedded into the floor. Our connector concourse will be a statement in terms of who that quality experience involves here in the community. You know, we're known for our hospitality. We're one of the largest convention cities in the country. And it'll make that statement in terms of who Louisville is and how we distill great experiences here. Beyond the connector, landside ticketing will be completely renovated, and we'll have new escalators going in. We've got a small art gallery that'll be going in as a part of that remodeling. And as a part of this, strategically, about 6 years ago, we decided to look at not only doing a remodeling, but what if we could do that with the food and beverage and news gift concessions too? And that was another goal. We haven't been able to do that since the terminals were built in the 1980s. So we've gone through and we've rebid our concessions. And as a result of that rebidding, we're going to have all new venues in terms of food and beverage and news and gift. A lot of it representing local businesses here in the community. This is the Book and Bourbon, which is where Woodford Reserve's at. You'll see Comfy Cows coming in. How many fans we have for Comfy Cow? There you go. All right. Buy a Comfy Cow, save Skip's job. All right. And then we've got Starbucks. We'll be going into the landside terminal with a full-service Starbucks this time. Cole's Pizza, Smash Burgers going in where Quiznos is currently at. And then we've got some additional upgrades for our Bourbon Loft and Starbucks Coffee. What's our largest food and beverage concession at the airport? Louisville International. That's right. And so this gets enhanced. We're going to be one of 4 Starbucks evenings operations in the country at airports. JFK, Dallas-Fort Worth, LAX, and Los Angeles, and Louisville is going to be the very next one. And so we're excited about that. You'll not only have increased food opportunities and a broader menu, you will also be able to buy alcohol at the Starbucks evening operation at Louisville International. So we're interested to see how that all plays out. I'd maybe trade my latte in for, I don't know, Cabernet. You never know. So the news gift concessions are changing as well. We're going to have a Brooks Brothers in the terminal building. We'll be actually one of the smallest airports to have a Brooks Brothers outlets in it in the country, and a number of other outlets that are Kentucky themed, Kentucky based as a part of our news and gift program at the airport. All of these shops are being themed and coordinated with the interior design and remodeling. We're very excited about that. It makes for a huge opportunity for us to be able to continue that statement beyond just the public spaces, but into the vendors and concessionaires areas as well. So it's all very exciting in terms of what we're doing to the terminal building. It's about a $9.5 million effort for the airport authority, and about an $8 million upgrade effort for the concessionaires, the both food, beverage, and news gifts. So it's a significant investment that we're making on behalf of the community and on behalf of you all, which travel through our airport every day of the week and every day of the year. So thank you all very much for your time and attention. We really appreciate it. We'd be happy to take questions.
Skip Miller, we're going to open up the microphones for questions. We've got some time. And don't forget, questions are limited to Rotarians, 30 seconds only. We don't want to hear about your bad experiences at the TSA counter. So with that in mind, speaking of which, let's ask this. We'll talk about security. So it's going to get worse. Speaking of which, so going through the TSA stuff, that's here to stay. Probably getting worse. You hear about going down the road, or what's your thoughts?
Well, I think airport security is here to stay. It's been here for about 40 years already. It's not going anywhere, and world conditions just underscore the need for that. But I think it's gotten easier, actually. You've got pre-check now, you've got the pre-check line, leave your jacket on, leave your shoes on. I know that's important to you, President. So leave your shoes on, it's important to us. So you do that, and that's all right. So don't have to turn your computer on. Global Entry provides the same benefits. I'm a Global Entry member because that's the gold standard. You would expect that, right? But it is getting easier, I think, and I think the lines have gotten more reasonable and more manageable. We were concerned here a couple years ago at Derby, and Derby has been awesome. I think last year the longest line wait, Trish, was 20 minutes? 20 minutes, 25 minutes? Yeah. So
that's great.
And we're handling twice the number of people on flyaway Sunday than we do on a normal Sunday.
That's great. Loads of questions. Let's start. Barbara in the back.
Skip, thank you for your time today. I was wondering if you track our average airfare in Louisville compared to our competitor cities, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, and even Lexington, and if you measure the out-migration from Louisville residents to those other cities in search of a cheaper fare.
We do. We watch that very carefully. The out-migration that you refer to, we call leakage, and there's positive leakage and there's negative leakage, and we get a little bit of both, actually. We have traffic leaking out of Cincinnati and Indianapolis into our area, and we, for whatever reason, reciprocate. I don't know why, but we watch that very carefully. It's not big numbers like it used to be years ago when Southwest first came to Louisville. You'll notice Southwest pricing is very competitive today as compared to Delta and American and United. They're not quite the low-cost leader that they used to be. But we are. If you measure us against 6 airports that we consider to be competitors in this area, we are either the lowest or tie for the lowest pretty consistently every quarter when DOT puts those statistics out. Things have changed a little bit. The numbers have gotten closer, but we're still on the low end. And some of that closeness is because there's some specialty carriers serving those other airports that we don't necessarily have here in Louisville. Good question, though. Thank you.
Cindy?
Hi, I'm Cindy Gates. So when does your construction schedule begin and when does it end? I was appreciative to see a terrazzo floor, which will be good for your cleaning.
Yeah, exactly. And cleaning. I waited 13 years for that. Thank you. And so we started construction right after the first of the year, so it's underway right now. If you haven't been to the airport, you got to come out and check out the terrazzo. Come on out. We sell Starbucks, so have some coffee. We think it will end sometime in the September, early October time frame. Most of it will be done in the September time frame, if not all, certainly.
Skip Leland, Wood, Mansey. Just a quick comment. As I travel around the country, I'm invariably very proud of our Louisville Airport for its beauty, its cleanliness, and the local flavor and welcome that it gives to our visitors. It really compares beautifully to every airport I've ever been to in the country. Question. I grew up near Wilmington, Ohio, where Airborne and then DHL were, and now Amazon is starting an experiment with 12 airports, including the Wilmington Air Force Base, for cargo. How may that affect us?
That's a great question. And if UPS knows the answer to that, they're not talking about it. But Amazon is, and I think they still are, the largest customer, Amazon's largest customer for UPS of late. So I don't know that anybody knows the answer to that. I'm not sure how it worked at Christmas. That was the first experiment for it. The long history is, of course, Wilmington's been a cargo hub for a long time for Airborne Express initially. And when Airborne Express was bought out by DHL, they moved back to northern Kentucky where they started life out at and left a huge facility empty in Wilmington. Airborne Express operates airplanes still. They call APX now, and they're the ones supplying the lift for Amazon. So I don't know how that's going to work, but they experimented with it in November this past year, and I suspect that you'll see more of that going forward in time if Amazon believes it's lucrative. It takes a lot of money to run an integrated transportation business, so we'll see if it is as lucrative as they believe it to be.
Skip Walkuno. I want to go back to the TSA situation for just a minute. In the past month, there have been a couple of places in the United States where they've had over 3-hour waits to get through the TSA line, and the TSA officials, when they are shown on national television, really don't seem to care about what that does to the passengers. So the first thing is, I'm so happy that I've never had a bad experience with TSA here in Louisville, but I'd like you to comment on that. And then just a second ago, I clicked on the Cincinnati Airport mobile website, and right at the top of the page, they have TSA line, 2 minutes, average wait over the last 20 minutes. Last 20 minutes was 18 minutes. If you all could do something like that, because as flyers, we want to know, can I get to the gate? Do I need to go now, an hour and a half ahead of time because of TSA? It's not the check-in gates. It's not curbside. It's all TSA. There's the bottleneck, and it is, you talked about lasting impressions, and I don't know how much influence you have, but people leaving Louisville, we want to make sure that that line is short and things are happening. But thank you for your service.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Tom, jot that down. We've got a mobile website here. Tom and Trish both operate that and take ownership, so we'll make a note of that. Thank you. TSA lines here just haven't been the problem that they've been at some other airports around the country. Fortunately, we say that with a high degree of pride, because we really do want to be the airport of choice when you think about where you're going to fly out of next time. We've had some very strategic partnerships with the folks that run the TSA operation here in Louisville. We just lost our federal security director here about 3 months ago. We've got a new one in. I'm happy to report that she is also very customer focused and really takes it seriously. Although security is the preeminent issue and the reason they're there, customer service is important as well, and she understands that. We're happy to have her as a business partner. So if there is an occasional problem, if you have an issue, let us know. We're in communications with those folks every day, and I wish it was better nationwide than what it is, apparently, but it's good here, and we want to work hard to keep it good here. The other thing I want to acknowledge is, you mentioned customer service. You know, our information booth is staffed with volunteers. Our ambassadors, we've got about 70, 75 volunteers. They are the best folks that you could ever ask to have a part of your organization and never have to pay. They consider their investment of their time to be incredibly important, serving the traveling public coming in and out of our community. They truly are ambassadors of goodwill for our community. They do an awesome job. If you ever get a chance to fly through and you're down here in baggage claim, stop by and thank them for their service and their time. They do a great job representing us and who we are every day to people that, until they got on an airplane and came to Louisville, they really couldn't spell it. So they do a wonderful job, and I want to give them a shout out, if that's okay.
That's your prerogative.
Marty Hazel.
Marty.
I went to Cincinnati, made the trip, paid the $100 to get the global entry card, and I still don't get TSA pre-check every time. And so what determines that? And if this doesn't have anything to do with it, what does determine that? And because I think I've probably gotten it 8 out of 10 times. And does it matter whether you check in online versus checking in at the airport? Because I know one of the times that I didn't get it, maybe the 2 out of 8 times, at least one of them, I checked in online.
Okay, thank you. Good question. That's a great question. Has nothing to do with your affiliation with the media, by the way. I just want you to know that. Nothing to do with that at all. We love you all too. No, I carry the gold card, the trusted traveler, the global entry card, and so I don't get TSA pre-check every time either. In fact, I was going to Washington, D.C. Monday last week, and I didn't get pre-check. It is a random selection for people that do have that privilege that will take that privilege away. And that's part of the program. That's part of their protocol. They'll tell you when you sign up, you don't always get it. You'll get it most of the time, but they will randomly select you for the full meal deal. And so you'll be taking your shoes off and your jacket and turning your computer on. Doesn't happen as often as it used to, like you say, 8 out of 10 times, but it will still happen, and they'll tell you that when you sign up for it. But global entry now is, to my knowledge, whenever you come into the country and you use the global entry portion, that works every time. Okay, so that it should work every time.
Oh.
Question: the airport haps across the river, southern Indiana. The airport authority have any working relationship or did you all were involved with them years ago? How is it going to work with Southern Indiana exploding with River Edge and everything for corporate jets and all that? I know they had to pay big bucks in that lawsuit, but they got 5,000 more feet on the runway.
Yeah, good question. No, we're not directly affiliated with Clark County. It's Clark County Airport Authority now. It used to be just the Board of Aviation Commission. We had some discussions a couple of different times through history, even since I've been here, talking about possibly managing the facility for them. But those discussions kind of ebbed and flowed, and they decided to do their own thing over there. Clark County is an important component of our aviation system here, and I liken it to a three-legged stool. They provide an important level of service and an important number of facilities to support general aviation that we really don't have room for at International Airport and have a difficult time at Bowman Field because of runway lines. So they fill a niche for this community and for its aviation needs. It's an important facility, and as much as I'd love to operate it, we understand that that's Indiana and that's their operation. We love to work with them. I do have a contact and a telephone number, and we use it from time to time. We're friendly, and I will tell you we're not friendly competitors, but we're friendly. We understand what each other's purposes are in life.
Michelle?
Hi, Michelle Oberst. I worked for Global Sales International for Hyatt Hotels, so out of Chicago. So airports are very important to me and bringing our business in. So two questions. One, is the Bourbon Loft going to be membership as it has been before previously, or is that going to be open to anybody that's traveling through or leaving out of Louisville? And two, how does the maintenance work? Not being a hub hotel, a hub airport, if there's a maintenance problem, sometimes it seems we wait much longer here for things to be serviced. Is it a general maintenance contract, or does each airline have their own maintenance personnel here in Louisville?
Okay, first of all, great hotel chain. I carry a gold card for it. When you talk about maintenance, you're talking about aircraft maintenance?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. Maintenance is provided here on the field by our fixed base operator. It's not, the airlines don't have a significant maintenance presence here necessarily. Now, if it's a Republic Airlines aircraft, a regional jet that they're flying, we got a maintenance facility right here. Same with Compass, same with Mesa. But if it's an American Airlines mainline aircraft or a Delta mainline, they'll have to get their services through that third-party provider, and that may take a little bit longer compared to if you were in Atlanta, where they have their own maintenance shop. So yeah, that's true. And I think there was a second component.
Just the Bourbon Loft?
Oh, the Bourbon Loft, sure. The Bourbon Loft, it's no longer a membership deal right now. You can go up there right now, have bourbon tasting, enjoy the ambiance, and make your flight, because it's all after security, of course. So yeah, it's no longer a club, and it will continue in that theme going forward in time. So thank you for asking. It's been a great venue for us, great change in venue for us.
Skip Miller, thank you, Rotarian Skip Miller. One of the best presentations, as always, with our Rotarians. Thank you so much. You'll be here after the meeting. We appreciate it. And everyone have a great